Alright everyone, welcome to Street City Studio. I'm John, and today I kind of just wanted to play with some toys. Actually gonna do some posing is what we're gonna do. We talk about some posing while I do some posing. I figure I got a couple figures here that I really like to pose, right? And I got some figures here that are a little more challenging because they have less articulation, right? But mostly, I kind of just want to play with some toys. And now, I'm not a big fan of the retro styles or the lack of articulation and modern improvements. I am a big fan of the modern improvements, right? Wrist articulations, ankle articulations, things that guys like Kamakura here don't have. However, I love this figure. I love the look of it, the design of it. It's not a bad figure when it came out for what it was, right? And it still kind of looks good with other figures. It doesn't look bad unless you pose it bad. And that's kind of my thoughts here today, right? Or not just today, but on my shelf in a display in a photograph. I don't necessarily need the most articulated figures, right? I've got a Emperor Palpatine that was in the video, yesterday's video, I think. And he has no articulation at all, but a character like Palpatine, for most of his scenes from the original trilogy, he didn't do that much. He didn't need to be an action figure, right? And even Vader, right? Sometimes he was real stiff, but in more modern interpretations, he's pretty active. And he gets moving. He needs some more articulation than he used to. Right? And so, a couple of things. That's all right. A couple of things I wanted to do today, right? I have this concrete base that I printed and painted. I've had it for a little while now, but one of the things I find challenging with it is getting a good pose and angle, right? Anytime I pose a figure for it, look like they're doing a superhero landing or something, it's hard to get a good angle and look at it, right? It kind of just looks like he's... Pull it up closer here. Right? Kind of just looks like he's laying on it. It doesn't... You don't get to see the concrete break, the brokenness of it, right? He kind of fills it out. And when you do the other way, like I said, the superhero landing, I always feel like you end up with something like this. Or maybe turn him a bit. Right, you end up with something like this. Where I don't see Colossus as much as I want. If that makes sense, right? So maybe somewhere in there, but I probably should have printed this thing a little bigger. Colossus might be a little too big. His feet are hanging out the back, but it doesn't have to be Colossus either. That's kind of the idea here, right? Let's try a different figure, because I've always wanted to get Colossus in there and always try to get him in there. He's too big for it. But we can do a little superhero landing. An unconventional, untraditional superhero landing, maybe. All right. gotta spread his legs better. That's part of it. Alright, somewhere in there. Let's really take advantage of these new legs. Twist it out there to kind of to an extreme. Turn this one in. Alright, keep that cape out of the way. Really just play with it, you know? If it doesn't look right, can we fix it, hide it, tuck it, fold it? Alright. His foot's trying to turn out as I get him in there. There we go. Alright. I gotta get something under his cape. Kind of keep his cape flared up. That's one thing I need more. I don't have any wired capes for these guys. That's alright. Something like that, you know? And even I could probably take his lightsaber here and just kind of use it. See? I'm gonna push him back a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of fun. It's kind of holding its shape for a second there too, actually. Yeah, look at that. Let's try something else, though. That was pretty cool. Set that right here. Something else I really like, obviously, right? Obviously, I brought Kamakura in. Snake Eyes. I'm a big fan of the G.I. Joe ninjas, right? Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Buddha, Kamakura, Jinx, and, oh man, I'm gonna embarrass myself now. Alright, but I really like some sword fights. Get him in a sword fighting pose. Now, something I see in a lot of photography, toy photography, is real stiff poses, and I'm probably guilty of it too, because it is what it is. These figures have limitations, right? But I'll see a lot of photography where a figure is kind of just like Kamakura and Jinx here. Right? They're just kind of real static poses with no momentum, no activity, right? But if you look at Snake Eyes here, he looks like he's doing something, right? He's got a wider stance, right? And a turn to his upper body, right? His head comes back this way again, playing with that whole motion, right? Because as you turn and walk, right? As you walk, your upper body kind of moves with it, right? As your left leg goes forward, right? Your right arm comes forward. Your right leg comes forward, right? Your left arm comes forward with it, right? And so as you do that, your upper body kind of swivels back and forth a bit, you know, and your line of sight directs the audience, tells the audience which way you're going, right? If I'm looking this way, or she's looking this way, and her arms are fighting stances over here. Right? She's not moving that way, right? She's moving this way, right? Her line of sight is this way, right? But if you turn her head that way with her arms, or even like Snake Eyes back there, right? His arms are the other way, but his line of sight is that way, right? Implying that he's about to go that way, right? He's about to take that sword, and the sword's about to come in this direction. His feet, his hips, it all implies he's coming over here, right? And so you'd be surprised how much a little bit of attention to that body language, it can make a lot of difference, right? Even him, this guy is seriously limited. He has no wrists, right? No ankles. Even that skirt kind of binds up his hips and limits how wide I can give him a spread, right? His legs could do a wider spread, but the skirt really kind of cuts him down to 50%, I'd say, right? But the same rules apply, right? He's limited, and so it'll make him look stiff. So you got to try a little harder maybe to make him look fluid. But you can. Not always. Not every pose will work for Kamakura here. But he can be made to look less stiff, right? Let's put this arm backwards like he's coming that way maybe. Turn him. Right? And that leg really doesn't want to come back as far as I'd like it to. So I kind of got to exaggerate it, right? Fake it. Right. Now his problem, once you get him into a more active pose, he doesn't want to stand because of his lack of articulation. So you got to dial it back a little bit and find that kind of middle ground to where I can walk away from him, where he looks good, but he's not just going to fall over. All right? And so he's moving that way. And he does. He looks a little stiff, but you can do things to hide that too. Like I said, that back leg is really jamming him up a bit, making him look stiff. But a little bend to the elbows, a little bend to the mid torso, a little bend to the knees, and make a big difference. Now they're all just going to talk. But I think what I want to do here for a minute, I'm going to play with Budo. I got Budo here. We're going to do us a little samurai versus the ninja sword fight, I think. Let's get his hand off of that wakizashi. Right, and now Budo is very limited in his posability because of all these extras, the skirt and the tunic and the armor, right? Even his shoulder armor and his helmet. It really limits what he can do. And he's got good articulation if you strip some of the stuff off of him too, but that kind of defeats the purpose too. But so, I think, like I said, one of the things I'm going to do to make up for his being bound up by his armor is trying to exaggerate his pose, right? To hide his lack of posability, right? I don't want to hide. I want to see the red and I want to see the black because it kind of breaks it up. I've thought about doing some paint work on this guy, but it's such a nice figure. I'll get a second one before I do that, maybe. All right, so what I said, I'm going to exaggerate his pose by trying to spread him out a bit. Right? As much as I can spread him out. Get his arms spread out. Turn his head here, if I can. See, this sword keeps dropping out. It'll stay for a second in the right position, but if I nudge it even a little, it just fall right out. It's about to fall again. There we go. Alright, so now when I bring Snake Eyes in here, I'm going to turn him because he's facing the other way. All right. So I'm going to bring his sword back because I'm kind of under-exaggerating him. He's way posable. I kind of don't want to make Budo look too bad here. But let me reposition these arms. There we go. But I'm going to have him kind of crouched out a little bit, I think, here. Turn that blade a little bit so you can see it. Something else I was thinking about doing too, right? I wanted to try some different poses, like maybe a fireman's carry or over the shoulder kind of thing. Maybe a spear. Okay. Let's see. We'll use his stiffness to our advantage, I think, here. Right? We'll make him the victim of the spear. He's got that little bit of play in his waist I can take advantage of too, because he's an O-ring figure. Yeah. Go. Get his head turned up as far as I can. Right, and so it starts to look like I said, like a fireman's carry or something, but I kind of wanted it to look more like a spear, maybe. Like he's goring him. Right. Something like that, right? Like I said, you pull his arm back. If you've got his arm down by his side, it looks like a fireman's carry, doesn't it? Right? Like he's just got him over his shoulder, slung over his shoulder. But you start pulling his arm back like that, duck him down just a little bit. Well, then that creates a little bit of momentum and action. Looks like he's moving with him. Looks like he just hit him. Plowed through him. Right? Oh, there goes that other sword. And even here, I might turn his hand out a little bit flatter. Right? But you can play with it. Lean him out a little more. Right? course, I gotta find that balance between the action and posing, standing, right? Is he gonna stand? Another thing that always helps when you're trying to create that look of momentum is the back leg. You can always pull that back leg to a little longer than the front leg. It'll create some momentum and motion. Get this sword back in his hand. Right. If you are doing them static poses, right? I'm telling you. Just a little bend in them elbows. Maybe a little turn to the head. You can do the same pictures, same static, stand still picture. And just those little bits make so much difference, right? Put a little bend in that elbow like he's doing something. Turn his head like he's looking at something. Anything, right? But when they're just real stiff, real straight, that's not what I'm going for, right? When it just looks stiff, right? Might as well be just kind of toy on the table or standing on his head. All right, look. I could take that picture, but I don't know that it says anything to me, you know. And likewise, right? Just a picture of Kamakura here, standing real still. I don't know what that says. But if I come over here, grab these little nunchucks I made. Alright. Now he's doing something. Now that's something. I like to watch movies, and then I'll try and recreate some of those fights and scenes with figures. I find it helps with kung fu movies, action movies. I used to watch a lot more wrestling when I was young, but I don't really watch wrestling these days. But it all helps, you know. Paying attention helps. Right? Attention to detail, attention to the posing. Posing. I mean, even if it didn't matter, I think it's fun. Well, that being said, that's probably about all I got to say. I appreciate you guys joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.